You are listening to Bedtime Dreamy Tales. Subscribe to our channel for new story. Story title, Thumbelina. Once upon a time, there was a woman who wished dearly for a little child. One day, she visited a kind fairy who handed her a barleycorn, promising that it would grant her wish. The woman planted the barleycorn in a flower pot, and soon a magnificent flower blossomed. Inside the petals, a delicate and graceful little maiden, scarcely half as long as a thumb, sat quietly. The woman named her Thumbelina. Thumbelina's cradle was a polished walnut shell, and her bed was made of soft blue-violet leaves. She lived happily, playing on the petals of her flower home. One night, a large, ugly, wet toad crept through the window. "What a pretty little wife this would make for my son," the toad croaked and took the walnut shell with Thumbelina inside, jumping back out into the stream. Thumbelina awoke and cried bitterly when she found herself on a water lily leaf in the middle of the stream. The toad, proud of his catch, left her alone to prepare for the wedding. But the little fishes swimming beneath saw her distress and decided to help. They gnawed through the stalk of the water lily, setting Thumbelina adrift down the stream. Thumbelina floated away, far from the toad, and found herself alone in the wide forest. She wove a bed from blades of grass and drank the honey from flowers. Summer turned into autumn, and then came the cold, harsh winter. Thumbelina felt dreadfully cold, for her clothes were torn, and she was so frail and delicate that she nearly froze to death. One frosty day, Thumbelina reached the door of a field mouse who lived in a cozy den. The field mouse, a kind and generous soul, welcomed her warmly. "You poor little creature," she said. "Come into my warm room and dine with me." Thumbelina was very grateful and was offered to stay for the winter. One day, the field mouse mentioned that they would have a visitor. "If you could marry him, you would be well provided for indeed," she said. Thumbelina was not interested in marriage, especially when she saw the visitor was a mole. The mole wore a black velvet coat, and though he was rich, he was dull and disliked the sun and flowers. Despite her disinterest, Thumbelina was obliged to sing for the mole. Her sweet voice enchanted him, and he fell in love with her. The mole had dug a long passage under the earth from the field mouse's home to his own, and he allowed Thumbelina to walk there whenever she liked. One day, they came across a dead swallow in the tunnel. Thumbelina was very sad, for she loved the little birds. During the night, Thumbelina wove a warm carpet of hay and placed it around the swallow to keep it warm. She checked on the bird every night, and one day, she felt a faint heartbeat. The bird was alive, but very weak. She brought him water in a flower leaf, and he slowly regained his strength. All winter, Thumbelina cared for the swallow. When spring arrived, the swallow asked her to come with him, but she declined, not wanting to leave the kind field mouse. "Farewell, pretty little maiden," said the swallow, flying into the sunshine. As spring turned to summer, the field mouse announced that Thumbelina's wedding to the mole would take place in 4 weeks. Thumbelina was miserable at the thought of marrying someone she did not love. Every morning and evening, she would sneak out to look at the sun and wish to see her friend, the swallow, again. The wedding day approached, and Thumbelina was filled with dread. The field mouse insisted she should be grateful for such good fortune. On the eve of her wedding, Thumbelina wept and stretched out her arm toward the sun. "Farewell, bright sun," she cried. "Greet the little swallow from me, if you should see him again." Suddenly, a familiar tweet-tweet sounded above her. It was the swallow. Overjoyed, she told him of her plight. The swallow urged her to come with him, reminding her how she saved his life. "Yes, I will go with you," said Thumbelina. She tied her girdle to his strongest feather, and the swallow soared into the sky. The swallow flew far away to warm lands where the air was fragrant with myrtles and orange blossoms. He gently placed Thumbelina on a broad leaf of a beautiful white flower. To her surprise, in the center of the flower stood a tiny man with a golden crown and delicate wings, not much larger than herself. He was the flower prince. "Oh, how beautiful he is," whispered Thumbelina to the swallow. The prince was delighted to see Thumbelina and asked if she would be his wife and queen of the flowers. Thumbelina, charmed by his kindness and grace, agreed. All the flowers opened, and out of each came little lords and ladies with gifts. The best gift of all was a pair of delicate wings, which they fastened to Thumbelina's shoulders, allowing her to fly from flower to flower. There was much rejoicing. The swallow, though happy for Thumbelina, felt a twinge of sadness as he bid her farewell. He flew back to Denmark, where he had a nest above the window of a house. There, he sang Tweet Tweet, and from his song came the story of Thumbelina. And so, Thumbelina lived happily ever after as the beloved queen of the flowers. If you like this story, please give this video a like. For more stories, go to bedtimedreamytales.com. See you in the next story.